Lopez.
Present.
Mayor Adams.
Present. Can you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. We're going to switch the order on the agenda this evening. Before we go into our Housing Authority, we're actually going to do our proclamation presentations. This evening, I'll be reading the Think Pittsburgh proclamation, and then I'll ask my colleagues to join me on the floor for photos. At this time, I'd like to invite Lilia Becerra and Jay Shukla to the front as a recipient of the Think Pittsburgh proclamation for Nivagen. And I'm going to read the proclamation. You can share a few words, and then we'll come down. You're welcome.
It's just me. Jay Shukla is on a business trip.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So this proclamation is for Nivagen Pharmaceuticals, Inc., right here in Pittsburgh. And it reads, whereas the city of Pittsburgh proudly celebrates the manufacturers whose innovation, craftsmanship, and commitment to excellence help define our community's character, strengthen our local economy, and carry forward Pittsburgh's proud industrial legacy. Whereas incorporated in 2009, Nivagen Pharmaceuticals specializes in the development, manufacturing, and marketing of specialty pharmaceutical products that support the health and well-being of communities. Nivagen Pharmaceuticals is an important part of Pittsburgh's manufacturing economy, operating a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility in the Garcia Industrial Corridor. Nivagen demonstrates how advanced manufacturing, scientific innovation, and a commitment to quality can build upon Pittsburgh's long-standing role as a center of industry and production. And with that, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Dion Adams, on behalf of the City Council and the City of Pittsburgh, do hereby recognize Nivagen Pharmaceuticals for your outstanding contributions. And thank you for exemplifying the values of Think Pittsburgh, and also just thank you for being here in our community. So with that, would you like to share some remarks before we come down?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Mayor Adams, members of the City Council, Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much. On behalf of everyone at Nivagen Pharmaceuticals and our leader, Jay Shukla, we are deeply honored to accept this proclamation, and by being recognized by a city, as it is City of Pittsburgh and the Chamber of Commerce, with a community as resilient and forward-thinking as this one, we are truly honored. I believe that a proclamation like this, it is not handed to a building, to a brand. I believe it is earned by the people and handed to the people behind the brand. For Nivagen, as a pharmaceutical manufacturer, the work we do every day is meticulous, it is high stakes. We develop and produce a life-impacting product that finds its way into hospitals, clinics, and homes all across the country. And for us, knowing that this vital work happens right here along the Delta, and that it is powered by the local talent and dedication and the grit of great scientists, engineers, quality control experts, operation technicians, it makes us, all of our staff, proud. And I truly want to recognize each one of them tonight and bring this proclamation to them. This award, indeed, it's a wonderful milestone. But at Nivagen, we view it as a stepping stone for even higher success. Furthermore, the management and chair members of our Pittsburgh facility remain deeply committed to invest not just through economic growth and quality job creation, but by being responsible, active corporate citizens that give back to the community. Thank you again to the Chamber of Commerce for this recognition, to the City of Pittsburgh for your continued partnership, and to everyone here tonight for recognizing our local industry and for recognizing the importance of the pharmaceutical manufacturing in our City of Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Thank you. My colleagues, will you join me down for a photo on the floor? Thank you. We will now move to our Housing Authority. Public hearing.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, we have this evening with us Ayanna Barnes. I'll try a different mic. Who's going to give the presentation, and she's being assisted by an employee who's given a lot of service to the city and will be retiring very soon. She does not like any type of public, me probably mentioning this, but Tanya Ray has done an amazing job with our housing authority, and this will probably be her last city council meeting. But over the years, she's helped our community and provided housing for our community and has assisted them through the process. And it's a big loss to the community. And I just wanted to say thank you, Tanya, for all that you do for the city and continue to do. She's semi-retired, I'll say, but last day is coming up soon, and this will probably be your last council meeting. So,
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And with that, we will have the presentation. Is there a microphone? Hold on, we're going to turn your microphone on.
Sorry, is that one? Okay, let me start over. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Resident Advisory Board. My name is Ayanna Barnes. Tonight, I will provide a brief overview of the Housing Authority's 2026 Administration Plan, highlighting the most significant policy changes, review the resident advisory process, and conclude with a staff recommendation for approval. The administration plan serves as a housing authority operational guide for administrating the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as the Section 8 program. It established our local policies and procedures in accordance with the housing urban development requirements and provide guidance for program administration. It also serves as a supporting document to the Housing Authority's 5-year plan and annual plan. The 2026 updates incorporated a number of changes resulting from HUD guidance. A major focus continues to be implementation of the Housing Authority through Modernization Act, commonly known as the HOPMA. The revisions address areas such as income and asset calculations, verifications, and interim re-examination, household changes, funding requirements, and other administrative procedures. The overall goal is to keep our local policies consistent with current HUD requirements. Several chapters were updated to address compliance, fair housing, and eligibility requirements. These changes provided a clearer guidance for staff while helping ensure that applicants and the participants understand the requirement and protection associated with the program. Some of the more significant changes found in Chapter 5 through 7. Chapter 5 clarifies the Housing Authority's ability to rescind vouchers due to insignificant funds with HUD's approval. Chapter 6 includes clarification regarding student financial assistance, alimony, and child support, and phase-in relief of certain hardship exemptions. Chapter 7 includes changes regarding the deceased tenant reports and verification of student financial assistance. Collectively, these revisions helped improve the accuracy and consistency of income, rent, and eligibility determination. Key updates include interim reexamination, household changes, and absences. Insignificant funding procedures added policy language to comply with HUD's requirements and support case of administration. The glossary has been updated, moving outdated pre-HOPMA terminology. As part of the administration plan process, the Resident Advisory Board meeting was held in August 2026. The meeting included discussions of updates from the previous year and proposed changes for this year. The Resident Advisory Board approved changes for the proposed administration plan. In summary, the administration plan is an extensive document containing the policies and procedures governing administration of Housing Choice Voucher Program. The full plan is approximately 998 pages, so tonight's presentation highlights only the most significant policies and program changes. The revisions primarily ensure that the Housing Authority's policies will remain current with HUD's guidance and provide clear direction for the consistent program administration. Staff recommends that the governing board opens the public hearing, receive testimony, close the public hearing, and consider any public comments received. Following the public hearing, staff recommends that the board adopts the resolution approving the Housing Authority's 2026 administration plan. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you for the presentation. We will now open the public hearing. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments? Councilmember Killings?
Yes, thank you through the mayor. So thank you for the presentation, and just want to confirm, I know it's in the staff report, that these changes won't negatively impact those that are currently receiving vouchers, and just wanted to at least publicly state that, or just ask for confirmation as some of these regulatory rules are changing, if there would be any impact to those who are currently receiving vouchers.
No, not at this time.
Thank you. And for some of these changes, I know we just went through the interview process with for Housing Authority members, and one of them was just kind of navigating the process and that type of communication. Are these changes, or these kind of regulatory administrative changes, are they generally shared with recipients? And if you can share just, I guess, how that information is disseminated, or how they are able to receive those changes?
Yes, we implement the new changes by providing them with the opportunity to review the admin plan by visiting our website. If they come in, they can ask for copies of certain pages. We're trying to implement a new system where we're having workshops for incoming new participants and continuing participants to introduce a lot of the new changes so that we can make sure our participants and applicants are up to date with the policies and procedures. So we're in the process of making those changes.
Thank you.
You for your work and reporting on the changes that are coming that will help and have physical effect in our community to help people that are in need for these services. So thank you. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
If anybody who is participating on Zoom has a public comment, please use the raise hand feature and you'll be called upon. We do have one person with their hand up. I don't know if it's for this item. It's Jessica Rojas. Jessica. Jessica, do you have a comment for this item?
Can we open the public hearing?
Oh, she dropped off the Zoom. Thank you.
Okay. We'll now close the public hearing. With that, what is the pleasure of the council on this particular item?
Item presented.
And I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Can I get the repeat of the motion who initiated and seconded?
Motion was by Mr. Floyd.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Herring?
Yes.
Yes. Are we voting?
The clerk will call your name
Oh, there.
for a roll call vote. Oh, we have the
We have-
portal up. Please cast your votes on the portal.
We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Herring? Yes?
Present?
Through the chair, I just wanted to explain to everybody who's on the board, because the portal wasn't working right, we're going to do a roll call vote, which means that the clerk here will call you each individually at a time, and you will vote yes or no on the item before you.
Thank you for the clarification. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll call vote?
Commissioner Herring?
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Councilmember Killings?
Aye.
Councilmember Kabata?
Yes.
Councilmember Benales?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lopez?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Great. Okay, we will now move on to Housing Authority consent calendar. Can we have a motion from the board on the consent calendar, if that is the pleasure of the board?
I will make the motion that we accept the consent calendar as is at present.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. Please cast your votes.
Mine didn't come up. You did, but mine didn't come up. See? That's not coming.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Do we have any, so the next agenda item are Housing Authority member remarks. Do any members of the Housing Authority have remarks this evening?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I would just like to say, as an overall, I've truly enjoyed being a part of City Council being under the authority of the Housing Authority, and I'm going to miss Tanya. But anyway, Tanya, I want you to enjoy your retirement and just remember us and come back and check in with us every now and then. So that's it. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Herring just took my word, so I'll just duplicate it more or less. And so thank you for your guidance and doing the work that you do that's so effective in our community that we humbly like and are so grateful to be a part of, and hoping that all the work that you've done will physically show in the community of people that are being assisted with these programs. So thank you for your service for all this time. And we look forward to working with the new, leader here. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you for your remarks. Tanya, we are going to miss you as well. Thank you so much for all that you do. We're going to miss your smiling face, and we're excited that you have your successor here that we're going to get to work with. So welcome. But enjoy your encore years.
Here we go.
Okay, we will now move on to adjourning our meeting and Housing Authority portion of the agenda. As we're making the transition, before we begin public comment, I had some remarks that I want to share. We did have to clear the building, but I think it's important to share with our residents some of the things that are important to acknowledge. And so, I want to acknowledge those who have continued to come to the meetings, to write us, to ask us questions, and to make their voices heard about things that are happening in the community. I know many of the people that were here are here because they continue to have concerns about data center development in our community. As I've shared previously, I'm required to recuse myself from certain matters related to the project. That was approved based on legal and ethical guidance that I received. And because of those obligations, there are aspects of this issue that I can't talk about or discuss or participate in. And I understand that sometimes it can be frustrating, particularly when residents want to hear from their mayor. But I want the public to know that I hear them, that I take seriously the broader message our community has been sending about the need for information, transparency, meaningful engagement when major projects are being considered here in our city of Pittsburgh. And that's why I'm pleased to see my colleagues on council direct staff to move forward with creating a community advisory group to help establish a framework for how we engage residents around major projects in the community. I think it's a major step, and it's an important step for us together to move forward. Good community engagement shouldn't begin only when people are concerned or when a decision becomes controversial. So we should have clear expectations for how residents receive information, how questions are answered, and how the community has opportunities to participate as major projects move through our processes as a city. And so we are establishing that, and I appreciate my colleagues for that. There will undoubtedly be different perspectives as we have meetings and those who were here with us earlier, and that's part of local democracy. My hope is that we can continue to have those conversations respectfully, listen to one another, even when we disagree, and keep working toward processes that strengthen trust between our residents and trust with our city government. I want to thank those who continue to show up and participate and care deeply about Pittsburgh, and ask the public to please be respectful, be thoughtful about our city, the things that are happening in our community. It's breaking my heart. And I know there's a way for us to move together as a community. And so I want to share those remarks because we may not agree on everything, but we do love our city. We love each other. It's important that we're respectful to each other. And there is a way to move forward. And so I wanted to share those remarks. And again, thank my colleagues and thank staff for answering the questions that the public has had. And we will continue working together moving forward. We will now move on to public comments. Madam Clerk, can you let me know how many speaker cards have been submitted for this evening?
Well, currently, we only have online Zoom participants. So if anyone on Zoom would like to make a public comment on non-agendized items or on items on the consent calendar, please use the raise hand feature at this time and you will be called to speak.
Thank you. For members of the public who wish to address the council or agency boards on issues that are not scheduled on the agenda or any items listed as part of the consent item, we will give speakers up to 3 minutes. However, we will not be able to engage in any dialogue, and speakers may not yield their time to another speaker. Comments on items on either public hearing or consideration portions of the agenda will be allowed when we reach those portions of the agenda. We want to make sure that we are orderly and respectful, and want to take a moment to remind everyone of city standards. Please address the council as a whole, not individual members of council or staff, and comments. Comments must remain within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or the agenda item, and please refrain from disruptive behavior when making comment. So with that, if we have anyone, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do. We have Pauline J.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Pauline Johnson, and today I'd like to just bring up some findings that came up in the community the data center has been the reason for the need for this data center has been about the budget deficit, our need for tax revenue, but it's really hard for the residents to believe that type of rationale when we see that the city council and the city staff are miscalculating budgets for projects like the sports tourism. So, for example, the project was originally calculated to be under 4 million, closer to $3 million. And then over time, it became, almost $14 million. And that's a $10 million difference of what the original estimate was. And with that came cuts. And so now I finally understand why the community kept talking about the skate park. It's because of the city had promised the city had promised the residents the skate park, and the skate park had to be cut because of these type of miscalculations. And so I just wanted to raise that up. There is some sort of budget mismanagement going on. And I think that when framing the need for tax revenue or just generally revenue from something like a data center, should be noted that there is a huge role that the city is playing and causing the residents to pay not only in money, not only in their cut services, but the quality of life, their health, their home values. And so I think that should be seriously considered as it relates to the data center. It's definitely not just because Pittsburgh doesn't have enough revenue. There's mismanagement going on and a lot of room for improvement for transparency, better calculation. So thank you. That's it for today. Thank you.
We have Jessica.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
So, Mayor, you just spoke about trust, and trust for your residents is not created by silencing us and kicking us out of meetings that we have the right to be at. You kicked out everyone, even those silent in the chambers. That's not collaborative or engaging your community. We have no trust with any of you. The budget mismanagement is yet another example of issues with this city council. Pushing a community advisory committee is not what we are asking for. That's too little, too late. You made this decision without our voice. We want a moratorium on all phases of this project. We want a ban on data centers in Pittsburgh, and we will keep showing up week after week, and we will keep using our voice to continue to say that we do not want a data center. Thank you.
No more speakers, Mayor.
Thank you. We will now move to items 5 on the agenda.
Madam Mayor, we have the committee reports before.
Oh, forgive me. Thank you. We will have committee reports, and then we will move to the public hearing. Item number 5. We have a committee report for public safety. I do not.
Yes, through the mayor. So the Public Safety Subcommittee met on Wednesday, August 5th, and it was primarily comprised of a presentation from staff on police youth services. So a number of youth service programs were reviewed and explained to the subcommittee, and overall positive feedback and recognition was given to staff on a number of different youth services that were presented. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to item number 5, which is the Pittsburgh Power Company public hearing. For the public, I will be recusing myself from item number 4 on the agenda this evening. I'm recusing from this Pittsburgh Power Company item. The Fair Political Practice Commission is currently reviewing a complaint made about my participation in a PPC item in 2024 based on my employment with PG&E. Because some members of the public perceive I may have a conflict of interest in the best interest of PPC and the city, I will not participate in the item. I will leave the dais. And in the interest of time, I will also be recusing myself from item number 6 on the agenda. I'm recusing myself from item number 6 based on a conflict of interest, based on real property that is my personal residence. So with that, I will hand it to Vice Mayor Lopez, and I'll return to the dais.
Mr. City Manager, we're ready for the presentation.
Great. Tonight.
Sorry, give her more time to leave.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Today we have our Pittsburgh employees that are out at Mare Island as part of Island Energy. And we have Vanessa here that will kind of lead it. And Vanessa, if you could just introduce and provide titles for the staff that are with you so everybody knows. And she'll talk about the proposed utility rates adjustments.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Council members, and guests. My name is Vanessa Xie. I'm the General Manager of Pittsburgh Power Company. I'm here joined with my colleagues, Marley Nunes and Bradley Bond. Marley Nunes is our financial analyst, and Bradley Bond is our superintendent. Okay, so we are here tonight to present the proposed utility rate adjustments for Island Energy. This hearing is also being broadcast to Island Energy customers on Mare Island. So whether you are here in the room with us or you're watching this public hearing from your comfortable homes, we thank you for your time and your continuous support for Island Energy. With that, I will turn it over to Marley, our financial analyst, who will walk you through the presentation. We'll be happy to answer questions after the presentation concludes.
I hope everyone can hear me okay. Good evening, council members and everyone. As Vanessa introduced, my name is Marley, financial analyst over at Island Energy on Mare Island. And we're here today to discuss proposed rate adjustments on Mare Island for Island Energy, to explain why these rate adjustments are necessary for the current fiscal year 2026-27, how those proposed rates were determined, and then what those new rates would mean for Island Energy customers. Some points of discussion throughout the presentation that I'll be covering is specific reasons why the rate increases are needed for this fiscal year and what the rate setting process looked like. The actual proposed electrical and new natural gas rate changes, the public hearing notifications and the outreach process that Island Energy employed, and then the timeline and next steps. So some of the key drivers for the necessary rate increases that we're proposing this fiscal year. One of the biggest ones was the loss of some of our major commercial customers on Mare Island, which significantly reduced our forecasted load for this current fiscal year. One of those was Mare Island Dry Docks. They were our largest customer, and they accounted for approximately 20% of our load on any given month. And just to clarify a technical term, load being the energy that we expect our customers to consume for that month. So that being said, we did lose them. We also lost a few other customers, or they have either already left the island or have greatly scaled back their operations, also contributing to a decrease in our load for this year. In addition to that, we do expect certain commercial development projects currently being on hold and continuing to be on hold for at least another few months. So we don't necessarily expect to recover from those load losses this fiscal year. And most likely we'll be waiting until the next fiscal year. We do also, we are seeing rising operating costs for materials, equipment, and labor on our end at Island Energy. Inflation did rise from 2.7% last year to 3.4%, as posted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics as of July 2026, is their most recently posted data. So that has contributed to some of our supplier cost increases that we are seeing this fiscal year, as well as aging electric and natural gas infrastructure needing essential upgrades as needed. We continue to update and modernize our system to be able to continue to provide safe and reliable energy to our customers. So that being said, the current fiscal year 25-26 rates that were adopted are no longer sufficient to cover Island Energy's basic operating costs projected for fiscal year 26-27. So some of the rate factors that were considered in the rate setting process are our wholesale energy purchase costs. That makes up the largest part of our operating costs at Island Energy, approximately 37%, followed by staffing costs, making up approximately 36%, and that's the blue pie slice over on the right. You have your overhead costs for administrative and general overhead coming in at about 18%. And then we also have our system maintenance and repair costs at approximately 5%, and then new capital improvement costs coming in at about 3%. So our rates that we are setting it's to cover all of these costs that I've listed here. The full picture of the operating costs is over on the right-hand side, and combining that and our forecasted load is kind of what determines what the rates need to fall at for us to be able to cover our costs for the year. So I would like to go into a few more details about that here on this slide. Presented here is the overall expense forecast for Island Energy for this current fiscal year. For the proposed rate case that we're discussing today, our wholesale energy costs comes in at about $3.2 million expected expense for this year, which is down by about 18% from last year's adopted rate case, excuse me. Staffing costs is going to be about $3.1 million compared to about $3 million last year, so it's a 4% increase. Administrative and general overhead coming in at $1.6 million compared to $1.4 million for a 12% increase. System maintenance and repair is going to be $407,000 approximately compared to $347,000, which is a 17% increase from last year. And then we have new capital improvements. We expect to raise $265,000 in capital with these proposed rates compared to the $600,000 that was adopted last year's rate case, which is a decrease of 56%. So overall, the total operating expense is $8.72 million for this fiscal year, comparing to the $9.4 of last year's adopted rate case, which is a decrease of about 7% in total operating expense. I do want to take a second just to make a clarifying point that Island Energy is a nonprofit cost-based utility service provider. So as I mentioned before, the rates that we're proposing are to cover these basic operating costs to continue to provide utility services on Mare Island. The staffing costs that are listed here is to cover 10 full-time employees over at Island Energy. And then the administrative and general overhead costs includes office space rentals, mandatory insurance policies, things like that. System maintenance and repair includes supplies, equipment, anything that's specific to our electric department or gas department activities. And then the new capital improvements it's representative of funding that we expect to raise to be spent on Island Energy's projects that are a part of the city's 5-year capital improvement program, which was previously adopted by City Council to cover things like our duct bank and vault replacement and other necessary projects. So some contributing factors to the increasing costs that we're seeing for this fiscal year. In regards to staffing costs, we are employing the cost of living adjustment of 2.7% to all of our employees, as well as the 5% that was negotiated in the labor contract for our utility technicians and line workers. We are also seeing increases to our liability insurance. We are required to carry general liability, excess liability, and automotive liability. So we did see increases this year for some of those policies that we carry. Petroleum increases, we see increases from our supplier to fuel oil and gasoline. Software services, we contract with NISC software, which carries the functionality of all of our utility billing operations and things like that. We've seen increases in raw materials, things like copper, aluminum. Those prices have gone up significantly over the last year, and so we're expecting to see those prices continue to rise, and as well as other costs across the board that go into that administrative and general overhead, as well as system maintenance and repair costs that we've forecasted for this current fiscal year. Some of the contributing factors to the decreasing costs on the previous slide is representative of the fact that because we're seeing this decrease in our load, in our forecasted load, we'll be purchasing less energy overall since we don't expect to sell as much. As well as we did perform an energy price projection, which determined favorable water conditions, which does help to reduce market prices for energy procurement. So when we go to our suppliers to purchase energy, the market rates are a little more favorable due to that. So overall, we do plan to continue to prioritize some of our reimbursable customer projects as opposed to new capital improvement projects for the simple fact of cost sharing. So projects that would benefit both us and the customer to upgrade or update our infrastructure to either accommodate new loads or new system capabilities. We are looking to partner with certain customers that are interested in that kind of work to be able to bear the burden and share those costs.
Marley, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You didn't mention the proposed data center here in Pittsburgh. Is that part of that load that you were describing?
No, that's completely separate. This is only discussing the load on Mare Island for Mare Island customers.
Great, thank you for the clarification.
Yes. So kind of getting into the bread and butter of this presentation, these are the proposed rates for this current fiscal year. So on the far left, you'll see PG&E's rates updated as of August 2026, comparing that to our current Island Energy rates in the next column over. So for our residential customers on the RES1 rate schedule, at PG&E, they would be paying a baseline of 39 cents per kilowatt hour. At Island Energy, it's currently 28 cents, respectively. And then we are proposing a 3% increase to this rate, which would take it up to about 29 cents per kilowatt hour. For our general commercial customers, there is primary and secondary metering rates there. That's going to be the CES1 rate schedule. They're at 40 cents, respectively, for PG&E's rates, and 30 cents for primary and 32 cents for secondary at Island Energy. We're proposing a 4.5% rate increase to those rates to be 31 cents and 33 cents, respectively. We have large commercial customers, again, primary and secondary metering rate schedules, CES2. They're at 32 cents and 35 cents under PG&E's rate schedules. And then for Island Energy, they're currently at 28 cents and 30 cents. We are proposing a 4% rate increase to those rate schedules to be 29 cents and 31 cents, respectively. And then we do have a streetlight rate schedule just to keep the streetlights on those metering customers. They're currently at 31 cents for PG&E and 23 cents for Island Energy. So we are proposing a 10% rate increase to that schedule to be 25 cents. And on the far right, you'll see that even with the proposed rate increases, if you compare the new proposed Island Energy rates to PG&E's current rates as of August 2026, you'll see that we're still significantly below PG&E's baseline rates, even though we are proposing these rate increases, and we do not charge tiered rates, demand rates, or any time of use charges as PG&E does. So Island Energy does continue its efforts to continue to procure energy at the lowest possible cost, as well as to explore additional cost control measures and supplemental revenue sources. just two quick examples for you of these measures is that the Causeway Bridge was recently under construction over on Mare Island by the city of Vallejo. And we decided to take advantage of the opportunity of them doing construction there to go ahead and replace our cables that were there that needed replacing instead of taking on those construction costs to remove sidewalks, things like that. We went ahead and did the work while they were actively on that site. So that saved us money there. And then also we've been prioritizing some scrap metal recycling. So to take advantage of the higher copper costs, we've been recycling extra cable that we have lying around, breakers, transformers, things like that, that we can take to supplement our revenue streams. So those cover the electric rate changes that we're proposing for this year. In terms of the natural gas rates, our natural gas commodity cost does continue to remain a market-based pass-through cost. So that's the supplier rate. We do not have any control over that rate at Island Energy, and we simply pass that cost on to the customer. And we are proposing a 4.5% increase on the delivery cost to help fund our gas capital projects. So what does that look like for a customer? Essentially, that delivery cost would be raised by 5 cents per therm from $1.12 to $1.17 per therm. So for an average residential customer with 20 therms of usage per month, they would see about $1 increase on their monthly bill, as well as commercial customers that are using approximately 1,000 therms per month, they would be seeing about a $50 increase on their monthly bill. So this is our Island Energy operating income forecast. This top portion of the table kind of shows our projected operating revenue, including the proposed rate increases. For our electric department, the revenue we expect to bring in would be $7.6 million. And then for our gas department, for those sales, we would expect to bring in $1.08 million. For a total of $8.7 million in projected operating revenue for the year. For our projected operating expense, this portion of the table is the same as the one that I shared earlier with the pie chart, and those details, it's just kind of renamed. So cost of goods sold would be for our wholesale energy costs, salaries and benefits is the same as our staffing costs, et cetera. And so that's where that 8.7 million comes back in for a total projected operating income of $12,000. So we are projecting to see a very minor surplus, which would get reinvested back into Island Energy if realized. This was what the notification process looked like for Island Energy. So we did start our efforts in early June by sending out outreach flyers as billing inserts to all the customers who receive monthly bills. So that was sent in June, July, and August to notify them of neighborhood town hall meeting that we were having, of this public hearing, and of opportunities that they could comment and provide feedback and to review that information. We also sent out notification emails on July 29th, August 7th, and August 14th with the same information. So that was also sent to all customers. And then we had online postings on July 27th, as well as July 29th. The information was posted on Island Energy's website, as well as some Nextdoor community forums for Mare Island community. And then we also made postings in the local newspaper, in the Vallejo Times-Herald, that was made on August 8th and August 14th. We did post notices on Island Energy's, the Island Energy office front door, July 27th, notifying them of these hearings and the proposed increases. We also held a neighborhood town hall meeting on August 4th. This was an after-hours meeting held from 5 to 7 p.m. It was held at Island Energy's office, and we invited community members, customers, anyone who was interested to come over and ask questions. We held an informational presentation about the same information that I'm presenting to you today. So overall, we are proposing modest rate adjustments across those rate schedules that are necessary just in part due to our lost customers, our lost load, overall rising costs and our aging infrastructure that needs to be maintained and modernized as needed. Island Energy does continue to remain significantly less than PG&E's rates across all rate classes, despite increasing the rates by these amounts. And we have been employing transparent communication to the best of our abilities, getting the word out to communities, to our community and to customers. So that's been an integral part of our process here. And if the rates are adopted, they would go into effect on September 1st, so customers would see those on their monthly bills that go out in October. And with that, I would like to conclude the presentation by thanking you all for your time, and myself or the Island Energy team here would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the presentation. At this time, do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Councilmember Kabata.
Hi, thank you very much for that presentation. It's very informational, very thorough. Thank you. But let's go back to the slide says projected operating income, please. And under other operating expenses, can you elaborate what that could be? For $2 million?
Sorry, I'm still getting used to this microphone here. Yeah, the other operating expense is going to include the administrative and general overhead that was presented on the previous slide, as well as the system maintenance and repair costs. So that would include things like insurance and things that aren't, staffing costs or the wholesale energy procurement costs. They normally fall into one of those two buckets.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other? Oh, Councilmember Killings.
Yes, thank you. And I echo, definitely thank you for the presentation, very thorough. Can we just share, I know we saw the decrease in terms of what's going towards capital improvement projects. Can you kind of just share in terms of the needs for infrastructure? And I guess this is kind of two-pronged as we're looking over the next 3 to 5 years and looking kind of at this model. Don't necessarily want to alarm folks, but in terms of are we forecasting that we're going to need this type of increase annually to keep up with infrastructure needs and kind of what we're seeing as far as on the cost side?
Good evening, Vice Mayor. Well, actually, I should say Vice Chair, members of the PPC board. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question because a big part of that has to do with the future of Mare Island. And Vallejo is currently working with the majority property owner, the Mare Island Company, on a development plan and a specific plan. So that's really going to dictate a lot of what the future holds and the amount of capital investment that's required. If the load does not continue to increase, but other costs continue to increase, we could be looking at potential ongoing increases, and we will try to keep those minimal. We are hoping and likely requiring that Mare Island Company and any subsequent sub-developers pay their fair share of any capital improvements for new load that comes aboard. So while there is some capital investment, we're keeping that small as we continue to work with Vallejo to see what the Mare Island specific plan is going to require to avoid having any massive increases in the future. We anticipate coming to you more frequently than we have over the past decade to review this and review rates and look at what the load forecasts and service levels are going to be for Mare Island.
Just as a follow-up question, Jordan, before you leave, has PPC looked into recent maybe grant allocations regarding infrastructure improvements?
Truthfully, no, we haven't. And I don't know if Brad and Vanessa can really speak to that. We're really functioning to on a cost causation basis, and making sure that any investment we put in is for the users and for the customers, and that we're not overextending ourselves and requiring that the ratepayers pay for those. I can't think of any grants off the top of my head. That's a great suggestion, and I'll definitely work with the team to see if there's anything out there that we could assist with. I will say much of that responsibility is going to fall on the city of Vallejo. It is still within their territory, and while we do not serve the city of Pittsburgh, I know that oftentimes those grants, even if it does have a component that we need to work with PG&E on here in the city of Pittsburgh, it's our staff that's going out and seeking those grants. So, but again, I'll work with the team and we'll work with the city of Vallejo to see if there's any opportunities out there. I think it's a great suggestion.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
Did you open the public
Oh,
hearing,
sorry.
please?
So at this time, I will open the public hearing.
Thank you. If anybody on Zoom would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand and you'll be called to speak. We do have James.
There. Am I being heard?
Yes.
My name is James Ducharme. I'm a Mare Island resident, and I do appreciate Island Energy. They're a good neighbor. I do have a question concerning the comparison that they were doing between PG&E and Island Energy, and it was resident, commercial, and then large commercial. And it seemed to be that we went from resident at about 28 cents, and then commercial went to 32%, and then large commercial dropped down again to almost residential. And I'm curious as to why that is, when it would seem that the largest user is getting a discount because they're using more. Can someone explain that to me?
Yes, I think I would.
So at this time, I do direct a member of PPC to follow up to that question, concluding this meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may answer the question. So,
Yeah, we're going to finish public comment and then we'll get to Vanessa.
Next speaker, we have Dan.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I am a Mare Island resident. My name is Daniel Boone. We had the opportunity to have a presentation from the Island Energy people that are there with you tonight 2 or 3 weeks ago at a Vallejo City Council meeting. And I just wanted to say publicly here to you what we told them on that night, and that is we really appreciate having Island Energy on Mare Island as our electric and gas provider. It's just great to have a small company for a fairly small community and be able to have the personal attention and contact that we do have. The other reason that I wanted to speak with you tonight or give the Island Energy folks that are there with you an opportunity is unfortunately about a month ago, the city of Vallejo had a data center proposal that had been presented, and it did not go anywhere. It was not pursued, but in the time that the public was finding out about it, there was an article in the Vallejo Times Herald which unfortunately quoted somebody as saying, oh, well, if a data center comes to Vallejo, then too bad for the people on Mare Island, because that means that their electric and gas rates are going to go up through Island Energy. So when we saw the Island Energy people 2 or 3 weeks ago here in Vallejo, they assured us that that was not the case. But just in case any other Mare Island residents may be listening, I just wanted to give them an opportunity to address that if they care to, that a data center, should it be on Vallejo, one be opened in Vallejo, is not going to affect Island Energy's rates on Mare Island. So thank you for your time.
No more speakers, Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor, if you'd like, I think staff could answer that first question pretty quickly.
Okay, well, my question is, are you able to answer both questions? I believe both gentlemen had questions.
I would like to answer the first question.
Okay, thank you.
So for the first question, for large commercials, they usually owns or invested their own facilities. So they usually take service at the primary voltage level, which means that they maintain anything downstream from the meter. So the average time that our technicians spend on maintaining their facility, it's less than compared to the general commercial, which we maintain everything. That's the reason why for larger commercials, their rates are slightly lower than general commercial.
And, excuse me.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I'm going to take the second part of that question. So I just leaned over and asked Vanessa the question about that data center. That data center was not even proposed in our service territory, so it would have no effect on Island Energy or Pittsburgh Power Company. We'll not get too much into details. We'll just point out, large loads do impact our rates, usually putting downward pressure on rates. The loss of a large load necessitated a minor increase here. Any type of large load, reactivation of the dry docks, large-scale commercial or industrial development, even to a certain extent, large-scale residential development, as it increases load. We've got a great staff that can handle a lot of work. We put them through the ringer. It puts downward pressure because we're able to spread out some of our administrative costs over a larger load.
Thank you. Seeing that there are no more public comments, any other clarifying questions from my colleagues? At this time, what is the pleasure of?
Please close the public
Oh,
comment,
yes,
Vice Mayor.
I will close out the public comment, and at this point, I will reconvene and look into my colleagues and see what is the pleasure of council or the board.
Through the Vice Chair, I'll make the motion for the adoption of Pittsburgh Power Company Resolution approving Island Energy's fiscal year 2026-2027 proposed utility rates for electricity and natural gas retail services on Mare Island.
Through the Vice Chair, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Please cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now moving on to, I will close out the Pittsburgh Power Company public hearing and reconvene for the City Council and Pittsburgh Financing Authority.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We'll give staff a little time to switch out.
Through the Vice Mayor. So this is item 6 we're taking, right?
Yes, this is item 6.
Okay, so I have a recusal on this item, so I'll be recusing myself from this item due to real property interest being in close proximity to the subject CFD. Thank you.
And as staff is changing that, Vice Mayor, I just want to thank our Island Energy staff for all the work that they do. As you can see, we provide a quality service at a very competitive price. And I think we heard 2 residents call and express their appreciation to staff and for the power rates that we're able to provide to our customers on Mare Island. So appreciate them. At this time, it's an opportunity to talk about, this is a public hearing, and I'll turn the time over to Elena, our finance director, and then Eric with NHA Advisors, who will walk us through this public hearing for adoption of a resolution authorizing issue sale of special tax bonds of the city of Pittsburgh on behalf of the Community Facilities District 2009-01, known as the San Marcos area, and special tax revenue bonds of the city of Pittsburgh Public Financing Authority. So this time I'll turn it over to Elena first, and then she'll introduce Eric.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. Elena Adair, Finance Director. We are doing a presentation, as Mr. City Manager explained, on the bonds to be issued. I have a team of members here, but with me, Eric Scriven with NHA Advisors, who is our municipal advisor in a variety of issues that relate to bonds and indebtedness for the city. We also have other members of the team that are assisting us with the issuance of these bonds in case you do have questions. We have an underwriter present here, Ralph. And we have bond counsel, Dave Fama. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Eric to begin the presentation.
Good evening. We have about, I'd say, 8 or 9 pages, and we'll move through them fairly rapidly. The Community Facilities District 2009-1, San Marco, was formed about 16 years ago. At the very beginning, there was the authorization to issue $25 million in bonds. It's been built out fairly well. Right now, there's 830 parcels in the district. I think it's important to state right up front that the bond issue that's being proposed is secured by the special taxes on the real property in the district. There is no city obligation whatsoever. Also important to state that the special tax, this transaction will occur, but there will be no change to the nature of that special tax that's being levied and has been levied for the last 16, 17 years. Again, the authorization in the original CFD back in 2009 allowed for a $25 million transaction. The build out of the district has been significant, such that the credit rating for this district and this bond issue is a AA credit rating, and that's because of the value to lien. The value of all the properties out there are well over $600 million. The issue is $25 million, so that's over 4 times coverage, which is a very strong transaction. I would note that this is sort of a layered transaction, so there's about 7 or 8 documents that are there for approval that we'll get to, but there's a layer between sort of the district / city and an authority, and that has been put in place to create flexibility for the city with the cash flows. Elena wants me to say, we did get a AA credit rating. That's, I think, important for the lower interest rates and just sort of the statement that this is a very strong transaction. So the special tax revenues that are coming in from the district heretofore had been reimbursing public improvements approved by the city. And now going forward, there will be 2 or 3 uses from those special taxes. One would be for the debt service on this $25 million transaction. There's a small amount of district administrative costs. I think it's important to note that there is a funding source for reinvestment in the district as far as infrastructure, repair and replacement of infrastructure in that 17-year-old district going forward. We estimate about 500,000 currently, and will be growing into the future. Did you want to?
I just wanted to add in that particular line item, this is not something we have for some of the other CFDs we have. So this is kind of a new, I don't want to say concept, but new for the district. So this is not necessarily to build brand new infrastructure, but the infrastructure and maintenance of facilities that are there. And so this is a funding source that's being created to actually maintain and improve, in a way, facilities that are already there. So normally when the CFD bonds are issued, it's strictly used to pay the bonds itself. In this case, we're actually creating a stream of revenue to fund improvements within the area, specifically within that CFD.
So I'll ditto everything that Elena said without raising taxes. So residents are going to see a visual improvement within the boundaries of the CFD district without raising any taxes, because instead of the money, as Elena described, we're now selling a bond and there's excess revenue to be able to provide that. And we're restricted on where those dollars can be used and what they can be used for. So they cannot be used outside of the district for, a park on the other side of town. It has to very specifically follow the rules of that community facilities district. So we're very excited about this.
We have a number of legal documents. We have Dave Fama from Jones Hall. If there are any specific questions on what's before you this evening to approve, otherwise I would move on to the next slide. But if there are any questions pertaining to these documents, glad to entertain those now. For the record, we have a strong team led by the City Finance Department and City Manager's Department. And we're tonight just about ready to launch this with council's or the authority's approval. Tonight is August 17, and if council and authority board approve the resolutions, it's anticipated we're going to post the preliminary official statement to market the transaction to investors starting tomorrow or the next day, with a bond sale later next week, and a closing and funding perhaps in September 10th or so. We have a few other slides relating to the market and the current situation with the market at the authority board's pleasure. Glad to have Ralph Holmes with Piper Jaffray speak to it, or we can just move forward. That concludes our presentation. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. At this time, do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Councilmember Killings?
Thank you. I think share the excitement that the city manager just shared in terms of identifying a new revenue stream for the city. And taking this opportunity, I know this was something that came back and there was discussions even as we were going through goals workshop and going through the budget process about this potential opportunity. So glad to support it and see it through fruition. And you had shared to the finance director about this particular CFD providing this opportunity. And is it that no other CFDs within the city, is there opportunity for the same throughout the city with other CFDs, or is there something particularly in terms of the formation of this one that allows for this opportunity?
I'm happy to be corrected, but this particular CFD has not had any bonds issued as of yet. This would be the opportunity to do it right now.
And this would be the only opportunity in this case, because once we issue the bonds, there's no more bonds other than if we need to refinance within this particular district. For many of the other CFDs we already have, the bonds have been issued, so that's been locked in.
Thank you. And with that, I'll yield back.
No further questions or comments. At this time, I will open up the public comment section. Sorry, I don't have the gavel. So I open up the public comment section. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
If anyone that's participating remotely has a comment on this item, please use the raise hand feature and you will be called. No, we do not. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Seeing that there are no public comments, I will close out the public comment section of this item and defer to my colleagues. What is the pleasure of the council?
Vice Mayor, I'll make the motion for the adoption. Just let me get to the right thing here. Make the motion for the adoption of resolutions authorizing issuance and sale of special tax bonds of the City of Pittsburgh for and on behalf of Community Facilities District 2009-01 San Marco and special tax revenue bonds of the City of Pittsburgh Public Financing Authority.
And I second that.
Okay, at this time, please cast your votes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for the presentation. At this time, I will close out the Pittsburgh Financing Authority public hearing. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor Lopez, for convening those items. We are now moving to the consideration calendar or consideration item number 7 on the agenda, which is to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 9.19 to the Pittsburgh Municipal Code relating open fires. It looks like we have Sarah Belafonte presenting for this item. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, I am asking the council to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance that adds a new chapter, 9.19, open fire, to the Title IX of the Pittsburgh Municipal Code. This ordinance aims to establish the city's first comprehensive rules for open fires, fire pits, barbecue pits, and bonfires at our parks and public property. And it's really exciting because it's the next step towards full utilization of Central Harbor Park. So let me start by why staff brought this forward. The city's offered public barbecues in many parks for years, and just recently installed wood-burning fire pits at Central Harbor Park as part of the upgrade project. So as we encourage more residents to use our parks and shoreline areas, either to cook food or enjoy the waterfront, our current code just simply doesn't address open flame safety adequately. Instead, our enforcement have kind of had to stretch the general nuisance and park rule provisions to cover situations that they really weren't written for. So given our proximity to sensitive fire danger areas and the region's growing wildfire risk, plus the red flag warning, spare the air alerts, Bay Area Air District, burn restrictions we now see regularly, staff felt it was time to build a clear, dedicated framework. So this ordinance does that, and it aligns us with the California Fire Code, Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, the Bay Area Air District Regulation 6, and Rule 3. So this slide gives you the big picture. The ordinance would add a new chapter, 9.19 to Title 9 of the Municipal Code, organized into 14 sections. It applies citywide to every city park, open space trail, shoreline area, and public property. I'll walk you through the key provisions in the next several slides, like weather and air quality restrictions, rules for our city-owned fire and barbecue pits, portable devices, permit requirements, and everything that is fun. So the first major provision addresses weather and air quality. So under Section 4, no fire, even one in our city-owned fire pits and barbecues that are installed and stationary, is allowed during a red flag warning, a spare the air alert or a burn ban issued by the Bay Area Air District or Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. I'm going to call them CONFIRE moving forward. Fires are also prohibited anytime sustained winds exceed 15 miles per hour or gusts exceed 25 miles per hour. It's the user's responsibility, per the way the ordinance is written, to check conditions before lighting a fire. And so ignorance of an active warning isn't a defense under this ordinance, but on our end, the city commits to posting all resources for determining current conditions on the spot, as well as restrictions at park entrances and on our website. So before I kind of dig into some details that I'm sure I will stumble over, you'll hear me reference several devices throughout this presentation. So I'd like to add clarity where I can so that I can be consistent throughout the presentation. So the ordinance covers open flame in 2 devices, fire pits and barbecue pits. Open flames are not allowed outside of these devices on public property. The left side of your screen depicts city-owned or public fire pits and barbecues, all of which would be currently fueled by seasoned firewood and charcoal only. Users of the stationary city-provided devices must bring their own fuel to these devices. On the right side of your screen shows the privately owned or portable fire pits and barbecue pits that we allow the public to bring to our public spaces. These can burn seasoned firewood, propane, or charcoal when they're brought by users to public spaces. So Section 5 covers our city-owned designated devices. So these are the stationary, city-provided, some already existing, some new with Central Harbor Park projects. Both require a supervising adult, that's somebody 18 or older, present within 10 feet of the fire at all times, and both require 10-foot clearance from anything combustible and suppression equipment on hand. Where they differ is the fuel and the hours where burning is allowed. Fire pits, so non-cooking, are wood burning using seasoned firewood only and may only have a flame in them between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. with extinguishment beginning at 8:30 p.m. Fire pits also need a functional spark arrestor or a lid. I learned that word when I was doing some research in place at any time that they are used. Public barbecue pits run on charcoal or seasoned firewood, and they have a longer window. This is sunrise to 9 p.m. since they're primarily used for cooking. Section 6 and Section 8 address portable devices, the ones people bring with them. Portable charcoal, seasoned wood, or propane barbecue pits, and portable propane fire pits are allowed within the city with a special event permit, which will also spell out their allowed time of use. They cannot be used during a red flag warning, spare the air alert, burn ban, or high wind day, regardless of permit status. Portable wood burning fire pits are prohibited citywide. There's no permit path for those because of the fire risk, as proposed by this ordinance. For anyone who does need a special event permit, the application requires a site plan safety and suppression plan, details on fuel and designated supervising adult, proof of any outside agencies, so imagine, a food stand, and proof of insurance. Fees for permits and reservations will come back to City Council separately for a different resolution. They're not part of tonight's action. One of the clearest rules in this ordinance concerns bonfires. Section 7 prohibits bonfires outright in all city parks and public property with no exemption, not for cultural, ceremonial, or recreational purposes. Unlike portable fire pits and barbecue pits, there's no permit path for a bonfire under this ordinance given the potential size and intensity of bonfires outside of an open flame device. For residents who want to use one of the city-owned fire pits, Section 12 refers to a reservation system through the Recreation Department. It's a first-come, first-served, whether online, by phone, or in person. The reservation must be made by a supervising adult who can show ID and must remain within 10 feet of the fire pit. The city retains the ability to cancel reservations for weather, safety, or maintenance reasons, and in that case, the resident would get a full refund or credit. That is something that will have to come back to council for approval. A reservation system has not been launched yet, but the public will be notified with signage and QR codes at the fire pit sites, info on the city's facility reservation website, and several other outlets. In fact, I get about a call a day asking about these fire pits. When can we reserve them? When can we use them? Why is there no signage? All that stuff. So I'm excited to be discussing this today. We've also built in reasonable accommodations for residents with disabilities, consistent with state and federal standards to access and reserve these facilities. So Section 13 spreads enforcement authority across 4 departments: police, code enforcement, public works, and recreation. So violations can be addressed by whichever staff are present. Consequences include administrative citations and fines under our existing penalty schedule in PMC 1.20, removal from the property and revocation of a permit or reservation, including denial of future requests. And importantly, if the city does have to respond to an incident, like an unauthorized fire that requires suppression, the ordinance allows the city to recover response and damage costs from the responsible party. And then briefly on fiscal impact, introducing this ordinance tonight has no direct impact on the general fund. Any fees needed to recover the city's maintenance and admin costs for things like reservations, emptying the ash bins, or special events permits will come back to you separately through their own council resolution, updating the master fee schedule. So we're not sending any fees as part of today's action or item. So that brings me to tonight's recommendation. Staff asks that the City Council amend the Pittsburgh Municipal Code Title 9 to add Chapter 9.19, regulating open fires. I think that's the whole recommendation. I want to make sure I read it correctly. And so if the council introduces it tonight, second reading and adoption would come back at a subsequent regular meeting, and the ordinance would take effect 30 days after adoption. I am happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really cool to see the fire pits down at the Marina Park and to have that available to the public. So I'm super excited to see this come to us. I had a question around how we're educating the public around the fire pits in this ordinance, and then also how is the city going to enforce the new requirements? Are there going to be penalties or fees that we're thinking about?
Yes. So signage has been what people have been asking for as far as education. So we've designed a sign, and we've visited a couple of parks that have not necessarily fire pits, but facilities that you can use or you need to rent. And we've got a pretty good design that basically announces these are public fire pits. You can sit here anytime you want if you want to light a fire in them. Here are the most important safety rules with a QR code to the ordinance. Here is how you can reserve, the phone number, the facility you can walk to get it reserved, or the online link. I'm imagining a QR code to reserve it. You can reserve it on the spot. You can reserve it ahead of time. So we'll obviously have a web page dedicated to this information. It'll be in the same area where you can rent areas of Giacomelli Park or any other facility rental. It'll live on that website. But in person on the fence as you open the door signage is what has been crafted so far. It's awaiting this ordinance and then master fee schedule update. So we have 2 more steps before we would even post any signage. The administrative citation is the penalty or fine. That's the $100 on the first offense, $200 for the second offense within the same 12 months, and then $500 on every subsequent offense in the same 12 months. And we have a lot of staff that are in that area on a daily basis, and that's why we allowed for code enforcement, PD, public works, which includes our marina, and recreation to be the eyes and ears for enforcing this ordinance. So I know from my time at the marina that our marina staff do at least 2 rounds in that area a day, if not more. They maintain the bathrooms, empty the garbages. They would be in charge of emptying the ash bins as well if there were any reservations. And they also do counts of how many people are using the facilities. That's part of our grant follow-up. So Public Works itself is there several times a day. We've got the public safety station across the way that was part of this grant as well that will put hopefully some PD eyes on there just to make sure people are using it well.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have questions?
First and foremost, beautiful park, Central Harbor. I mean, really nice. I am pretty excited about the fire pits. I know the community is excited, especially the kiddos, with s'mores. However, I would like to explore the possibility of having an encased fire extinguisher. And the reason behind that is, yes, we have barbecue pits at almost all parks around Pittsburgh. Barbecue pits are not necessarily considered recreation for kids. Fire pits are, kids think fire pits and they think it's fun. Yes, they are, but they also, you need to have a lot of caution when operating them. So a fire extinguisher nearby in the event of an accident, I would like to explore that possibility.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Killings?
Thank you, Sarah, for the presentation. You had mentioned about the wind advisory or folks being able to know or go get information. Can you share a little bit more about that in terms of if that were to be enforced, essentially where somebody would go or we would direct them to in terms of how to check, I guess, the status in terms of miles per hour with the wind and things like that?
Absolutely. People would be exposed to the various reasons for absolutely no reservation or absolutely no fires at least 2 times before they enter the fire pit area. One would be while reserving it. So red flag warning as issued by the National Weather Service, spare the air alerts, which are burn bans due to air quality by the Bay Area Air District, and then any severe weather alerts or recommendations not to burn from either CAL FIRE or CON FIRE. All of those resources and links to the websites would be on your permit application process. So similar to how you can sign waivers through your permit process, we would make sure that people are presented with the information and a way to get there very easily. I know the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has on their very front page, you would know if there's a spare the air alert day as soon as you got onto that page. It wouldn't be like go to their website, click on this, click on that, click on that. It is top news for them on a daily basis. But we would also have those resources on the sign as you're entering. I am not familiar yet with the recreation software for reserving, but I would imagine we'd be able to contact anybody, if staff keeps tabs on weather and different things like that for other reasons as well. I would imagine we'd be able to contact any reservation holder through that software as well to let them know no fire pits. Also, we would lock the fire pits. And I know that they're padlocks. Padlocks are not indestructible, but it's the solution we've got right now for making sure people don't get into the fire pits when they don't need to be. Also, part of the reservation process would be staff unlocking the fire pits. So we would essentially have staff make sure they check whether any of those alerts are in effect before they unlock.
Thank you. And I know we're focusing a lot on the new fire pits, but as we're looking citywide, I'm guessing those same standards as far as reservation would be applied. And then I guess my mind went to, as I was reading the ordinance, so can you confirm, so right now, to go out and have a barbecue, you are supposed to get a special event permit, or am I reading that wrong in terms of the use of barbecue pits?
So yeah, so as it's written right now, anyone using the barbecue pits in the parks would need to get a special event permit, which currently I don't think use of a fire pit triggers the need for a special event permit. So that is something we could look into if you're considering that, as far, if I just want to go out with me and my family of 2 more, if you're considering that to be too big of a burden to utilize the fire pits, we can look into updating the code.
Yeah, you definitely would want to look at it, at least from the perspective, because I don't know, and this was a big thing in the Bay Area some years back about people calling the police because people were barbecuing in the park. And so definitely, I don't know from a staff capacity how that would be in terms of going around if folks are barbecuing in the park and if folks are supposed to have permits. So I don't know if it's based on the size of the attendees or things of that nature, but I would want to look into that if that is being swept up into the ordinance now as far as people just going out to the park with their family and barbecuing. But I do also understand in terms of expectations around cleanup and other things that may go along with that. So definitely would be happy to allow staff, in terms of how that is operationalized, in terms of the maintenance, or if we're seeing issues around barbecues in the park or garbage and things that are left behind that may be posing any type of danger or risk. But I guess just looking at that, when I was looking at the code, it just struck me like, wow, I didn't realize that if I just want to go out to the park and barbecue, I had to go get a permit to do it. So if we can carve that out, definitely would love to explore that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Kabata?
Thank you very much for the presentation. On the fire pits, in the fire pits area, I noticed there is a container and it said hot coals or whatever it says on it. So is that a requirement for people to empty their coals into that, or what is that? I mean, who cleans out the pits?
Yes, we thought pretty hard about that one, and we want to make sure that the people that are using the fire pits, their only responsibility is to use it responsibly and to extinguish their fire before they leave. Maintenance and cleanup of the fire pits would be on the city. So Public Works, whether it be Parks or Marina, would be the division responsible for cleaning out the fire pits for use the next day.
Okay, so what is the purpose of that hot coal?
That's where our staff would put them.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Instead of having to, theoretically, they wouldn't be hot when you put them in there.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Any further questions?
I guess it's just a follow-up, because I know I just kind of proposed a policy change. And so definitely would want to get any thoughts from council members. And so I guess I'm looking at section 9.19.060, where it says portable barbecue pits and portable fire pits, portable charcoal, seasoned wood, propane barbecue pits. LISA may be used only in areas approved by the city and only when a City of Pittsburgh special event permit has been obtained. That's what made me think like, whoa, just to go barbecue at the park with my family. So I don't know what we would necessarily propose. I don't know if, once again, if that's based on size of party or if there's any thoughts that staff already has, if we're looking to carve something out there.
Through the mayor, I hear what you're saying, and what I can give is the problem we're trying to solve. And I do think we just put a blanket on it rather than kind of getting into the weeds. So a couple of things. Yes, we definitely want people to go out and enjoy our parks and everything they offer in groups of 2 and 200. Obviously 200 having a trigger for a permit. We are noticing that people are bringing their propane barbecues or their whatever barbecues and putting them on dry grass or in the middle of a parking lot. something along those lines. We want to make sure that we have ways to control that. And we can do that without a blanket statement saying you have to have a permit. Also, we're seeing food vendors middle of lawns, under trees, things along those lines. So that, and then selling the food. So, there's also a permit requirement for something along those lines for a completely different reason. So those were the issues that this blanket solves, but understanding that blanket's not the only way to solve that.
No, and I appreciate you providing that context, and definitely would look towards the expertise of staff and what you all are seeing on the ground as it relates to trying to address the issues you just raised. But what you shared, definitely, I'm comfortable with. I appreciate that.
And
Vice Mayor Lopez?
yeah, I would second Councilmember Killing's sentiments around, you're a parent wanting to barbecue with your children, going to a park. You don't want to go and get city's approval, right? Especially because sometimes we barbecue on a whim. So if there's a way to dissect this and just extract the portion of city-owned barbecue pits or city-managed barbecue pits, I would be comfortable with that. And then leaving the rest of the language. I just feel like it's too much nuisance for residents to have to reserve barbecue pits.
Yeah, as written, they don't have to reserve the stationary city ones provided, and they also don't have to have a permit for those. You would need to have a permit for what you bring to a park.
Right. But I know I guess this is more of a cultural thing. Sometimes you bring additional cooking devices, right, to City Park to be able to cook what your intended recipe is. So looking at it from that perspective, I don't want to discourage residents from being able to bring their own additional gadgets to be able to barbecue in city-owned parks or public parks, right? It's for resident use. They're public parks for that reason. And so just thinking logistically, I feel like it's overburdensome for families to have to go through all these hoops. But I agree regarding, cleaning up the stations and making sure that we leave it clean for the next family to enjoy.
I have a thought and a comment around that. When you're talking about the QR code that's available, is that something that we could put in other parks?
Absolutely.
To maybe educate the public that if you have, because you might arrive with your grill, so you can start the process of educating people. You actually need to register to let people know, because it's really a safety issue for people to know where to put their grill. So maybe that's a way to educate people. If you're going to do it, this is the places that you can, but you need to get a permit also. But maybe something for staff to think about for the educational piece, sort of change management. Oh, Councilmember Kabata.
Thank you. Yes, I understand now that she's explained about people who bring their larger barbecue pits to certain areas. I know that there are some people that will bring their towable kind and sell items. They'll sell hamburgers and hot dogs out in the parks. So I understand, the provision on that. Perhaps, to satisfy the families who want to just bring their little barbecue grills, can there be a certain size, that we can put in there to like separate those who are using it commercially versus those who are just having a family picnic?
Yeah, we could do, there's a couple of things. I'm hearing establish grill zones, establish no grill zones outside of a permit process, make it obvious at a park, physically, visibly, all that. And I'm hearing setting size limits. And there's grill size limits, right? Which you can only make so much food on a certain size grill, which means you can only entertain a certain size party, which almost could be seen as your trigger in a special event permit with a number of people. So yes, all of those are ways to ensure that people are bringing their gadgets to our parks to have their family get-togethers, but they're not throwing a special event without it being regulated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Mayor Adams and City Council, just as a reminder for an ordinance comes to City Council 2 times. The first is the introduction and first reading, and then it comes back for adoption. I am hearing perhaps that one or more council members want some changes to the language. Your choices are, we can decide on that changed language right now and then come back for the second reading. But if we don't come up with that language right now, we'd actually come to City Council 3 times total. We would introduce it again at the next one with different language.
Okay. What is the pleasure of council?
I guess just overall, I don't, if council is fine with it coming back a third time, I don't necessarily have specific language to give right now, and I didn't want to hamstring staff from the perspective of what you raised, Sarah, around the issues that staff was trying to address in the language of the ordinance. And even as we're talking about this carve-out, I don't want to allow staff to go back and hear the feedback we've given, make the adjustments, then they come back for another first reading, if that was okay with everybody else.
I have no objections.
And Madam Mayor, maybe we can find a subcommittee to bring the draft language to, and then if it's agreed upon by the subcommittee, then we bring it back as a consent item. And of course, it could be pulled off if any council member would like to see any changes from that.
I would recommend Life Enrichment Subcommittee.
Yes, I second.
And I apologize, Sarah, for holding up getting this done so we can open up the fire pits, but appreciate all your work on this and bringing this ordinance forward.
I apologize for getting this to council so late.
Yeah, I just
Councilmember
have,
Benales?
yeah, just have, I guess, my feedback on this. So I think, yeah, I agree with Councilmember Killings and Vice Mayor Lopez. I think we need to understand like what problem we're trying to solve with this. And I get the city-owned ones for barbecue pits, and I'm fine with that. But I think these portable ones, you know, unless there is a like known issue, right, where we have you know, fires that are popping up left and right, like let's not try to like oversolve for something that isn't there. So I think, you know, the subcommittee will take that on, but I just wanted to give my feedback and kind of echo support on some of the dialogue that was presented tonight.
Awesome. Okay, so we will take this back and staff will rework it and then we'll come back to council. So we won't make a decision here, but just give that direction. Or do we need to make a motion?
No need for a motion, but maybe Sarah, could you repeat back what you think the direction is so we can make sure that council's clear as we're bringing back to the subcommittee what you're looking for?
Absolutely. So I'm hearing we are going to head to Life Enrichment Subcommittee to work to better define the problems we're trying to solve, and to come up with some proposed language to kind of uncover that blanket statement for the bringing your fire pits to public areas. And then you had mentioned coming back on the consent calendar. I was not sure, Madam City Attorney, if that's allowed. I think we'd have to do 2 more reads.
You're right.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. We will move on to the next item.
Thank you. This one, it's going to be quick. I don't want to jinx myself. So each year the city participates in the Cal Cities Convention. This is item number 9. Each year the council has to determine who would be a voting member to participate at that event. There's a vote that sometimes occurs on Friday. I think at this time we only have maybe 1 council member that's confirmed to go. All right, at least I think. But I don't. Does any council member is going to attend? I think Councilmember Cabada. Do you plan on attending the League of California Cities event?
That's fine.
Yep. So if Councilmember Cabada is the only one, we would ask that the City Council adopt and make a motion to appoint Councilmember Kabata as the voting member.
Thank you. I will make a motion that Councilmember Kabata attend the Cal Cities Conference and serve as a delegate for the city.
I second.
Thank you. Please cast your votes. Okay. Vote passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. We now have our conflict of interest statement for consent items. I have a conflict of interest for consent items 14, 15, and 18. And we'll recuse from those items. I'm recusing because these items are PPC items. Similar to earlier, the Fair Political Practice Commission is currently reviewing a complaint made about my participation in a PPC item in 2024 based on my employment with PG&E. Because some members of the public perceive I may have a conflict of interest in the best interest of PPC and the city, I will not participate in those items. Recusing and stating public perception is the basis because some members of the public perceive I may have a conflict of interest based on my employment with PG&E in the best interest of PPC and the city, I will not participate. Are there any other members of council that have a conflict of interest on consent items?
Yes, through the mayor.
Councilmember Benales, yes?
I'm just trying to get the number. So I'll recuse from item 13. Just out of abundance of caution, but due to real property interest within that development project subject to this budget item. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will ask what the pleasure of the council is to vote on those consent calendar items, taking into account the recusals for Councilmember Benales and myself.
Through the mayor, I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. With approval. We will move to council requests for future agenda items. Do we have any requests for future agenda items from any council members? Okay. None at this time. We will move on to council member remarks. Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to city manager remarks or reports. Mr. City Manager, any reports?
The only one that I'd like to highlight is today, our police department command staff was sworn in. And I see the chief walking up, and I think I see one of the individuals here in the room, but I definitely want the chief to recognize two of the newest members of the command staff and a new sergeant that were sworn in today. Very proud of the time that those individuals have spent. And there are many decades of service combined between those three. So, Chief, I'll let you talk about them.
Absolutely.
Good evening.
So, yes, today I have the absolute distinguished officer Jerry Sanchez, the Sergeant. Jerry Sanchez, Sergeant Corey Smith.
You hit the mic.
Do I need to do a redo on that?
Do it one more time.
All right. So today I had the pleasure of promoting Officer Jerry Sanchez to Sergeant Sanchez, Sergeant Corey Smith to Lieutenant Corey Smith, and Lieutenant William Hatcher to Captain William Hatcher. Combined, we're close to 60 years of experience between those three officers. Sergeant Sanchez came to our organization from Oakland PD, where he spent the first 7 years of his career, came over here in 2021. I was Lieutenant Corey Smith's recruit training officer at his police academy in 2005 or 2006 when I recruited him. And Lieutenant William Hatcher started, or Captain William Hatcher started here in April 24th, 2005. So he's been with us for his duration of his career. We're super excited for all three promotions. Like I said earlier today, I told our staff and I told everybody in attendance today, and I'm proud to reiterate it, our agency got better. All caps is the email I sent to our agency a couple weeks ago, and we absolutely got better today. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And I think Sergeant Sanchez, second generation law enforcement officer with this
his father
department.
was a Pittsburgh police officer for 16 years before he went over to the Contra Costa DA's office as an investigator, and then just finished his second stint as a DA investigator with Solano County 2 years ago.
Wow. Fantastic.
Great, thank you guys. Appreciate
Congratulations.
it. Thank you guys.
And that was it for me, Madam Mayor.
That's pretty big. Thank you. With that, we will adjourn this evening's meeting, and we will, due to Labor Day, we will adjourn until Tuesday, September 8th. Thank you. Good night.